Xenogears, one of the most historically important RPGs of all time, but also with one of the most controversial scripts in the history of gaming. Everything that surrounds this role-playing masterpiece created a chain of effects that heavily influenced its case. Today, we will find out what the hell happened to it. Chrono Trigger. Chrono Trigger is one of the most popular RPGs ever made, beloved by hundreds of thousands of people, perhaps even millions. It was developed by the Dream Team, which included some of the greatest minds in Squaresoft and Chunsoft, creators of Final Fantasy and Dragon Quest. It was released on March 11, 1995. 2 years later, Final Fantasy VII was released on the PlayStation, and it quickly became a highly revolutionary RPG and also one of the most popular of all time. Now, these two games had a lot of things in common, including people. One such people was Tetsuya Takahashi, a talented graphic designer and former employee of Nihon Falcom. During the early 90s, he joined Squaresoft and began working on games such as the Final Fantasy series. On Final Fantasy VI, he was the graphic director. He also worked on Chrono Trigger with the same position. Nevertheless, Takahashi was starting to grow restless with how Squaresoft was managing the series, wanting to appeal to younger audiences with light-hearted stories. So after the release and success of Final Fantasy VI and Chrono Trigger, he then proposed an idea for Final Fantasy VII. Initially, it was called Project Noah, something he had been working with his wife, Kaori Tanaka, also known as Soraya Saga. Once the script was presented, Squaresoft thought the story was too dark, too psychological, and too religious-oriented to become a proper Final Fantasy title. Takahashi and Tanaka then took the script to Masato Kato, who had penned the story of Chrono Trigger, to become a sequel. Kato, however, couldn't make the decision alone, and Squaresoft once again rejected the idea. Nevertheless, they suggested the story to be its own game, unrelated to any of the other projects. Over the course of time, Project Noah became Xenogears, when Hiromichi Tanaka joined as the producer. Tanaka had also worked in some Final Fantasy titles, and he had been the main creator of Secret of Mana on the Super Nintendo. During its years of development, Xenogears was also joined by Masato Kato, who had shown a lot of interest in the story in order to help pen the script. Nevertheless, two things stood in the way of its production, one of them being Takahashi's idea to make it a full 3D game. At the time, it just wasn't possible due to the PlayStation's limitations, so the graphics became 2D sprites over 3D backgrounds. This caused long periods of reworking and redesigning parts of the game, which eventually led the team to exhaustion. The other thing was also the story. While for Japanese culture it was acceptable to converge religious ideas as a proposal for wider audiences, it sure wasn't for the rest of the world. The plot involved ideas from controversial psychologists Sigmund Freud and Carl Jung, as well as philosophical ideas from Friedrich Nietzsche, questioning humanity, questioning its origin, therefore questioning God and religion. As a result, the game was almost left in Japan and it barely made it out to reach North America with some minor changes to the script. Europe and the rest of the world didn't get it. To everyone's surprise, Xenogears was a huge commercial success both in Japan and North America. Despite that, however, gamers and critics noticed something strange within the game. It was a 2-disc release, and the second disc seemed to have been mostly animated cutscenes telling a rushed part of the story. Takahashi later explained that Squaresoft had pushed the project to its limits, mainly because it was taking too much time. Also, the team's inexperience led to several budget issues within the 2-year limit Squaresoft had initially allowed. All this resulted in Xenogears being a rushed game. Nevertheless, it still succeeded and it became a giant cult classic, highly regarded as one of the best RPGs of all time. In my opinion, it has the best story ever written in a JRPG. So what the hell happened to Xenogears? It was successful, it had met critical acclaim, gameplay, graphics, story and soundtrack had been masterfully applauded. Takahashi wanted to start a new series, of course, but since Squaresoft was focusing more and more into Final Fantasy, he noticed the company was heading into a different direction. It was about that time when many bright minds began leaving the company. Xenogears was released on February 11, 1998 in Japan, localized until October 20 of the same year. That same month, Takahashi quit Squaresoft and created his own company, Monolith Soft, with the help of Namco. Namco will then allow Takahashi and his remaining team to work on the Xeno series. Since he didn't have the rights anymore to the name Xenogears, he made some slight alterations to it. The result was Xenosaga, an enormous project that took 3 games to tell on the PlayStation 2. Today, Monolith Soft is one of the most successful companies in JRPGs, mainly thanks to the popularity of the Xenoblade Chronicles series. Xenogears, however, was left as a standalone title with no plans for continuation, remake, remaster, or even a re-release. In the end, Squaresoft and Takahashi left us with a fantastic project, with a genius script no matter its controversial nature, and overall, a masterpiece that none of its fans will ever forget. It's too sad to know that Square Enix still holds the rights to Xenogears, so chances are we'll probably never see anything directly related to it again. Perhaps if Takahashi had stayed, we would have seen something, but I strongly believe that he took the right decision. He made the right call leaving the company, because Square Enix became something that most of its original fans never wanted. But hey, look at the bright side. 2 great video game series were born after Takahashi left and founded Monolith Soft: Xenosaga and Xenoblade Chronicles. Thanks for watching, don't forget to subscribe and share this video with your friends. See you next time!